Ladies and gentlemen, it is Sam Moses here again, continuing the launch of UltiROLL. Now, if you missed it, this week we are releasing a series of videos with the goal of showing you what UltiROLL can help you accomplish. Now, once again, our goal here at UltiROLL is to provide a complete system of both tools and education that makes self-care affordable and simple for the average person to do on their own time. Now, we started that process with a video that talked about targeted pressure release using one of our UltiRollers on our hip flexors to release some spasm to get our hip flexors to loosen up a little bit. And that was fantastic. Now today we are going to go on to the second technique that we use in our UltiMob system, and that is something that you have probably heard of, stretching. Now, although you might have heard of it before, I want to give you a better understanding of what stretching is here to accomplish. So, where we started with that targeted pressure release, that was more focused on getting spasm in musculature to release, getting those trigger points, those selective contractions to let go. By doing that, we reintroduce range of motion, and then we also promote tissue qualities. There are a couple more benefits that we get out of foam rolling. If you want to learn more about that, please visit the link below. It has an article that explains everything, all the benefits that you're getting. Now, with stretching, whereas targeted pressure release is more about releasing that contraction, stretching, the focus is more to get elongation and flexibility of muscles, okay? When we are in prolonged shortened positions in our muscles adapt to that position and they will physically shorten up. Now, when that happens, it will start to introduce range of motion compromises that force us to compensate with other joints in our bodies, and that is a huge mechanism of injury. So with stretching, what we can do is we can elongate musculature over time, and that tells our nervous system that that muscle is supposed to be longer, that the resting length of that muscle can be longer, and that improves our flexibility, our range of motion over time, allowing us to not need to compensate nearly as much. So where we're gonna go today, as far as showing you stretching techniques, is our hamstrings. Much the same way our hip flexors will shorten up when we're in a seated position for a long time, our hamstrings do the exact same thing, okay? So, when we get that shortening of the hamstring, we get compensations. So number one, we're gonna lose range of motion in our hip, which is going to force us to compensate with our lumbar spine. That's a huge mechanism for lower back problems. And then on top of that, when we have tight hamstrings, the hamstring itself doesn't feel good, but then we'll also start to get more compression and more pull at our hip and our knee, and those are also common mechanisms of pain and injury. So the idea here is we're going to stretch our hamstring to reintroduce a normal range of motion and undo some of those bad compensations, some of those compromises we get from that limited range of motion. Now, the beautiful thing about this hamstring stretch is I get to show you one of the other nifty tools in our UltiRoller kit. So let me get this opened up, and ta-da! The next tool we're gonna use is our stretch strap. Wish that was a nunchuck, that would have been cool too. So we have our stretch strap, and we're gonna go into stretching our hamstring. So where that starts out, we'll put the roller off to the side, we're not gonna be using that right now, is on the ground. Now, be on the ground if you want. I like to have a mat, whatever's most comfortable. Where we're gonna go is we're gonna get nice and relaxed on our back. From here, I'm gonna take my stretch strap and I'm gonna get it right around the ball of my foot. Now, you're gonna see that a lot of the cues that we use for foam rolling are also applicable to stretching. So step number one with this stretch is we're gonna almost fully extend our knee. I wanna have a soft bend because that's gonna be a little bit healthier for our knee joint capsule and the connective tissue in our knee. So we're gonna go to almost full extension, but it's not gonna be locked out. The next step we're gonna take is we're going to get to our end range of motion. So with that soft knee, I'm gonna start pulling back through the stretch strap, and I'm gonna see how far I can get before it starts to feel uncomfortable and sketchy, or just before I can't go any farther. So for me, soft bend in the knee, I'm pulling back, got a little bit more, and right about there is the range of motion that is comfortable. I cannot stress that enough. If we're pulling ourselves into a crazy position and like right here, my hamstring's yelling at me, it's saying this isn't natural, that's probably too far. Let's stretch so that we can get into that range of motion, but not hurt ourselves trying to stretch. So I find my end range of motion, and then just like that targeted pressure release,
we are going to start breathing, okay? If I get to this end range, that can be uncomfortable. It can cause my nervous system to want to brace against that stretch. If I do that, we are gonna not get any benefit, okay? We're just fighting our nervous system as instead of mobilizing tissue. So once I'm at this end range, the next step is going to be breathing and relaxing. So same as our targeted pressure release, I'm gonna take 5 to 10 breaths and just make sure that my hamstrings as loose and relaxed as possible. Now, once I have that relaxation, the next step that we're gonna take, and the final step we're gonna take, is using the same contract-relax cycles. So remember, a contract-relax cycle is exactly what it sounds like. We are gonna contract the muscle that we are stretching, so in this case, my hamstring. We're gonna contract it for 5 seconds, and then we are going to relax for 30 seconds. So that first part, contracting for 5 seconds. I'm at my end range, I'm relaxed, and to contract my hamstring, I'm gonna pull back through my heel. When I do that, my leg is not gonna change position, so I don't wanna pull back through my heel and lose that end range. I just wanna pull back and get a slight contraction from that hamstring. Now I'm gonna hold that for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5 seconds total, and then on the relax, we can add a little range of motion. So what I mean by that is, I get my 5-second contract, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then watch what happens to my leg on the relax. I get some extra range of motion. That is the sneaky trick of a contract relax when we're stretching, is it allows us to access new flexibility in the muscle that we are stretching. So now I can relax into this range of motion. Once again, that'll be 30 seconds. Pretend that 30 seconds went by, and then I will contract again. So slight pull through my heel. Once again, the position of my leg isn't gonna change. I'm gonna hold that for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then let's see. Relaxing, oh look at that, I have some extra range. So that's the idea. We're gonna contract without losing position, and then on the relax, we're gonna see if we can get into a further range of motion. Now, the same idea as our foam rolling, I want you to do at least 3 contract relax cycles. That puts you at a minute and a half in that stretch. If you want to go further, if you want to go longer, that is totally up to you, okay? It's never gonna be a bad thing to mobilize and get some more contract relax cycles. Now, I want you to take this stretching technique, work on it, same exact thing. 5 minutes per leg per day, 10 minutes total, nice and simple. Over time, we should see that that hamstring gets a little bit more pliable, the bottom of your squat should get a little bit more accessible, and more than anything, pain in the hamstring, knee, hip, and what could be argued most importantly, in our lower back should start to subside. On top of that, that stretch should become less and less uncomfortable. We should start to get used to that range of motion. Okay, so I want you to give that a try, 10 minutes per day. If you have any questions on this mobilization, please reach out to me, either directly or through our website, www.getultiroll.com, where you will find all of our tools and more mobility techniques for different segments of your body. Thanks again for supporting UltiROLL, and I look forward to hearing how much this helps you.